Welcome everybody to our last session of the day here in Fotokinga in the Adobe stage, which is our Meet and Greet session. In this session, we will give you more information about what it is to really be a stock photographer. And for that, we have two really talented artists here on the Adobe couch sofa. To my right, we have Max Muench, travel, adventure photographer, avid Instagrammer, and one of our latest additions to the Adobe Stock Premium collection. To my further right, I have Jacob Lund, top stock photographer, being in the stock business over 5 years already, a lot of experience. So these two would be able to give us here and all the people that are watching us on our live stream a lot of tips and input into the world of stock photography. So to start with a really basic question, and maybe Jacob, we will start with you. How did you become a stock photographer? Because I know there is a really interesting story there. So maybe you can share it with all of us.
Yeah, so I think it was 2008, I started my own business as a photographer. And I didn't have much experience with photography, but I felt like I knew how to take a picture.
Yep.
So I started my business and I promoted myself as a photographer, and I was putting myself on the market as a photographer. And I pretty much said yes to everything people would pay me to do. So that would be portraits or events or weddings or whatever. But this didn't really work, and I ended up in a situation where I was pretty broke. So I had to do something else. And then because I had a background in the military, it was like a natural step for me to apply for the Danish police. So I did this to get a real job. So yeah, so I could survive and pay my rent. And I worked in the police for a few years before my need to be creative and do photos came back to me.
Yeah.
And then I started doing photography while I was working in the police.
Okay. So actually you were doing stock photography and police work at the same time.
Yeah, so I found out that to do photography while I was in the police, I needed to find something that I could combine with my job, because I would either be working day or evening or night shifts or in the weekends, and that's pretty hard to do to match photography jobs with clients. I mean, weddings are always in the weekends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I had heard about stock photography, and this gave me an opportunity to do photos when I had the time, and I was not depending on clients. So it was a great way for me to just shoot when I had the time and I could plan the shoots. So I just lived this like this for a few years.
Like a double life in a way.
Huh?
A double life.
Yeah, double life. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Max, you wanna tell us about your introduction into stock?
Into stock photography.
Yeah.
It's a really short story because it started recently.
Yeah.
A couple of
and
weeks
actually,
ago.
Max was recently on a photographic mission for us for Adobe,
right.
and you went to Mongolia.
I went to Mongolia.
Yeah, so maybe you want to tell us a bit about that.
But it's been such a long way to, I mean, it's always a super long way, but it's so interesting. I'm actually a pianist, musician, so photography is something like I did for hobbies. Was like, yeah, I did it, but it was nothing like really important to me. 2 years ago, actually, I started to do it more properly. I went out into nature. I started nature photography, travel photography. It became my job, basically. And this job to travel actually brought me to Adobe.
Yeah.
This awesome company invited me to go to Mongolia in the last couple of weeks. Yeah. I just returned. And
maybe we should also say that you are a commercial photographer. You work with well-known brands, and you do campaigns for them, and they send you on photographic missions as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then you went on this venture with Adobe to Mongolia to do this kind of a project that we will be sharing later this year. But maybe you can tell us about that. How was it for you, not as a um, let's call it like a newcomer to stock. Yeah? How was it for you to go on that mission and to think stock in a way?
Yeah.
Yeah? Because as we know, when photographers are shooting for stock, the image needs to be commercial because we would like to sell that image. It needs to talk to a lot of people in a way. So how did you go about it on your ship?
Well, I've never done this before, and I never actually got into like your field, which is super interesting. For me, stock photography was always this cheesy, smiling, you know, this super cheesy stuff. But it's actually
not anymore.
No. And I found out that's actually a super open field, very diverse, super cool, super creative. It's all about storytelling, and that's actually what my part is. My whole 2 years ago, what I did, storytelling. Yeah, and this journey to Mongolia was totally different because my point of view was to focus on stock photography, and it works differently. You maybe super short. You need more space. You need something going on, and it should be something personal that touches the heart or the soul of a buyer, potential buyer.
Yep.
So you have to work differently than what I actually did before. Maybe you want to look at some pictures?
Yeah. Let's have a look. If we can have the picture on the screen. Yeah. So yeah, maybe we can go through it.
Yeah, it was so nice just to go out. My usual travels is about 3 to 5 days of rushing through a country, trying to get as many spots as possible. And this time was totally different. We went to one spot, we stayed there for a whole week, got into the culture, really got into the country, started to live with that family. And this girl was my new little sister, actually.
Nice.
It was
Great picture.
so nice just to get into the culture, into the country. Also, traveling is a really important part of going through Mongolia because the distances are like
It's
so
vast.
big.
It's
It
huge.
is like, if I'm not sure if you can see it on this picture on the screen. You see here, you see my mouse.
Yeah.
There are some actual footsteps. It's this path, and one of these lines is actually 50 to 100 meters. So you kind of get a
A scale.
a scale of the picture.
Let's see a couple of more.
Some more. Meeting locals is always the most important thing you have to do when you're traveling, because this is what it's actually about, like to travel, to meet people, to connect to people, to learn how they live. Yeah.
So from that, I would like to go to the first image, because something that a lot of newcomers into stock always ask me and the team is, you know, images with people usually sell the most.
Excuse me.
How can I find the right model? How can I get a model release for that model? If I find somebody on the street, can I take their image? So in this case, you went into Mongolia, which is very far away from here. How did you manage that? And you have other images with other people in them. How did you manage to obtain that model release?
Yeah, in this case, it's super special because model releases are completely new to me. Like, I've never done this before because I don't think in this, like, I want to sell the picture afterwards. But it's a really important part of stock
You need to
photography.
change the way that you're thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you take a picture of somebody and he sees his face somewhere in another country, and it's like, I didn't give permission to this. So you could be in trouble.
Yeah.
And in this case, it was really nice. We got really deep into the family life, into the daily procedures. So we actually got friends. We became friends. We connected really on a higher level. And and in this case, it's a child, so it's something else as well, because she cannot sign the
The
agreement.
parents, her guardian, need to sign the
Exactly,
model
the
release.
parents. So I had to ask the parents.
Okay.
But in this case, it was not a problem at all because we were
So you
one family.
You
and
created a connection with them, and they
Exactly.
were happy to do that.
just connect to the people, and everything will be easier.
That's a good tip. So I would like for a second to go back to the images that we have on Adobe Stock. And in this case, Jacob, this is your portfolio.
Yeah.
And we were talking about
All good.
we were talking about model releases and about working with models.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of people in your images. So
Yeah.
you cover a lot of lifestyle, travel. So maybe you can tell us a bit more. How do you find your models? And also a few tips for our audience. How do you direct them?
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe you can show us a few nice images from here, if we can share the screen, like nice stories or about the model that you've worked with.
Yeah. So I would say I love shooting with people because then there's an interaction that you don't have when you shoot a landscape, and that's just more appealing to me. And most of the people I shoot are actually I started just shooting my friends or my family members. Yeah, now I use more and more. I use models, but most of the models I use are people that I cast myself. I try to avoid using modeling agencies because I prefer shooting pictures that look authentic, and that means having people that look real.
Yep.
So, and not saying that models don't look real, but I'm just saying that they don't have to be super pretty and perfect. It's more important that they are charismatic and they have like some kind of character.
Yes.
So that's pretty much what I look for, and also good energy, because that you really feel that when you shoot people that you can really see if they have good energy that comes to life in the pictures.
Yeah. And you told me before that, for example, in this image, so this is somebody that you know personally.
Yeah, so this girl actually shot a lot of pictures of her, and she was with me from the beginning when I started shooting stock. And she's actually a friend of mine, and she's a police officer. She never did modeling before we started.
Yeah.
But now she's been in a lot of my pictures, and I think she's a great model for fitness, and
Yeah.
because she needs to be fit for the police job. Yeah.
So this is a great case when you are using people that are around you, friends, family members, that you can actually ask them to be in your images, and they would be happy to sign.
Yeah, and in the beginning it was, I mean, with her it was just for fun we did it. But when you start earning a bit of money, you can actually also suddenly pay your friends to be in your photos, and that's
To be your
cool.
friends.
Yeah.
So going on to our next topic, and Jacob, we will start with you again because you're doing this on a daily basis. This is your full-time job. You have a team that you're working with them. You have a makeup artist, stylist. You use different producers sometimes. So when you plan your shootings, what do you do exactly? Do you have a storyboard, a shooting plan? How do you start it?
Yeah, it's actually a long process, but I usually always start with the idea. It's important to have a good idea of what you want to shoot. And I usually have a list of ideas. I just always, if I come up with something, I put it on my list.
Yeah.
And once in a while, when I plan shoots, I go to this list and see, like, what can I shoot now? What is the season for? Which, like, depending on where I am and what time of the year it is. And then the next step is like finding out what you want to shoot. Make a mood board. Like, what is the theme? Is it like a group of friends in a cafe? Then we need to find a cafe and or coffee shop, or and how many models would I like? Okay, I would like 4 models, 5 models, this age, and then I just start looking for models, booking the locations. Maybe go and scout a few places to find the right place that fits my idea.
Yeah.
And then I would book assistants, makeup artists, but I also try to keep the team small because it's like you're more flexible when you work with a small team.
Yeah.
And it's easy just to get a lot of people on set, but that's actually not, I don't feel that's helpful. I feel like the best images come when we are a smaller team and more flexible.
Okay.
Because if the productions become too
Too massive, too big.
yeah, then then it's just gonna be a big thing that you have to. It's gonna be very unflexible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So there's a lot of preparation, a lot of planning. You're not going out with your camera and just
In the
take
beginning, it
pictures.
was like that,
was like that.
but my experience is that the better images come when I plan it more. So I also do a shoot plan where I put like the most essential photos that I want.
Yeah.
It could be maybe just be 5-10 images that I picture in my mind, and then when I shoot that, I always get something extra as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And Max, maybe you can share with us how do you plan for your photography trips now that you're more into stock as well.
Yeah, that's really different to
I
your
will show
world.
more.
Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah.
It's like it's so nice just to think like how you can set up your photo, but I'm actually not able to do this because when I'm on travels, it's always what happens, and maybe you can repeat a moment. You can try to rearrange the moment, but it's actually never happened.
No.
That's why I cannot like ask the model, this old woman, to carry this stuff again. It's like, okay, I'm gonna help you. No, yeah, that's my approach. Like I get it, the shot when it happens in this moment, and there's no chance to repeat.
Okay.
So it has to be perfect, or it's not.
And we have on Adobe Stock Premium one of your latest sessions, or when was that exactly? That's
that was
the Faroe
actually
Islands, right?
the Faroe Islands, which is a small group of islands between Iceland and Scotland.
Yeah.
Still super unknown because no one is going there. No one knows about that. That's why it's not touristic at all. And you have time. You have so many different landscapes, and you have beautiful models as well, like this one here. Or, yeah, you can even ask these sheep just not to move. But you don't need a model release for this. I guess.
He is posing.
And regarding the crew that you have with you, do you have an assistant with you, or you travel alone? How do you usually?
I'm still kind of working alone.
Okay.
Now I have an assistant as well. She's actually a friend, and more than that, and she's coming with me all the time. And yeah, but now I start to work with management as well to try to keep all the email stuff far away from me because I cannot focus on the actual photography anymore. I wish I had a little team like yours that could do some stuff that I'm not able to because I would like to focus on photography and not to do all this stuff. Although it's super funny to negotiate and stuff, but yeah, it's kind of time.
Yeah, it's easy to get like drown yourself in all the admin work. So I think it's very important that you have some people who can help you, so you can focus on shooting. And I guess that's what we all enjoy most as photographers is shooting pictures.
Yes, for sure. So let me share also these sessions with our audience, and let's get a bit technical. And let me ask you guys, you're going on a shoot. Which equipment are you taking with you? Do you use strobes, flashes, natural light? Do you have any favorite lens that you're using? Drones, maybe that you're using? Are you doing video as well while you're working on the images? Because video now, as many of you know, is the latest trending stock. So we always encourage our contributors to shoot video while they're shooting images as well.
Yeah.
So maybe you can tell us about.
I when I go on a shoot, I have my basic kit, which is now a 5 DSR, the 50 megapixel beast.
Okay.
And then I use actually recently, or 1 or 2 years ago, I started using the Sigma, all the Sigma prime lenses, the art lenses, the 35, the 50. I also have the 20. And that works pretty well for me. And I prefer always shooting natural light.
Yeah.
But sometimes, especially when you live in Denmark, where the weather is very unpredictable.
Pretty dark
yes,
in winter.
Yeah. So I always have a light with me or a few lights on set. So in case the light is not like I want it, I can do a few adjustments. but I prefer shooting natural light. That's also making the shoots way more flexible because you can change your setup much faster when you don't have lights. But sometimes it's just like a necessary evil to have lights.
And you have been working a lot with drones as well.
Yeah, I bought a drone
Something
half a year ago,
Okay.
and I had some fun with that. I don't know if it's more a toy or actual tool, but yeah, I got some fun. I got this shoot we did in Bali, where we have the woman in the pool
Yeah.
on the donut thing, and that was super fun to shoot. And I think the result is I like the result pretty much. So you can actually do pretty cool stuff with a drone. Just like every other tool, you have to get to know it and how to use it, and not just play with
So
it.
it's still there. You didn't crash it or anything.
No, I didn't. I actually never crashed my drone.
Okay.
Yeah. And when I was in Bali, I was actually the first time I brought it on a photo shoot. I just had it when I did that shot. I had my drone for 1 week, I think. So yeah, I was pretty lucky not to crash it because we actually flew it in the jungle where there's trees all over the place. And if I crashed it, I would never be able to get it again. So yeah.
Okay.
Drone.
And Max, what about you when you go on shootings?
What about drones? Well, I had one until last week. It was really nice to fly with.
Oh no.
I recently got into drones actually, and
Okay.
it's really a fun toy.
Yeah.
You get some nice perspective, like different views.
But regarding the equipment that you're taking with
yeah.
you, the cameras?
I usually have, I'm also shooting with Sigma lenses, and I'm just convinced by them that's really nice.
Okay.
And I used to work with my 5D 3 from Canon because I really love the tone of the like. You don't need this high dynamic range. Sometimes it's just enough what you have. But I recently started shooting with Sony as well. So right now I bring both systems and I try to make them both work.
But usually with fixed lenses?
Usually with, I had a 60-35,
Okay.
but it was not so sharp, it was not so nice. It's a nice travel lens, but right now I prefer to shoot on fixed lenses because they're super
It's
crisp
beautiful, yeah.
and the nice bokeh and yeah.
So Max, we've seen that you have been traveling all around the world. You just came back from Mongolia. But Jacob, you as a stock photographer are also traveling all the time for your shootings. So
Yeah.
even if we go to one of your latest sessions in Bali,
Yeah.
or maybe you can tell us where else did stock photography take you?
Yeah, I mean, now I've only been working 1 year full-time with stock. Before I had my job in the police, so it's not until now that I really have the opportunity to actually work from anywhere. And I use this opportunity to work. I work 6 months in Denmark, and then I go to South Africa, to Cape Town in the winter, which is their summer, where I shoot there for half of the year. But then, like in April, I just wanted to try something else. I had been in South Africa for almost half a year, and I felt like I wanted to try something else. So I was looking at places to go, and I was actually just looking at a map of the world, just thinking of where it could be fun, where it could be fun to go and shoot some pictures. So I decided to go to Bali for 1 month, and that was a pretty cool experience because just when you change your location, the photos you get will be totally different. I guess you know all about this. And even when you do stock and you the stock photos I do, just changing the location gives a totally different image.
Yeah.
So I spent 1 month there, and I spent a couple of weeks planning some shoots. We did a shoot of a couple hiking in the jungle. We did a shoot of this couple at a luxury hotel. We did also some yoga pictures, and it was a lot of great opportunities to shoot in Bali. Yeah. So it's definitely something I want to do more, travel around. Now I'm going back to South Africa in 1 month, and I'm going to spend my winter there.
Okay. So a nice sunny winter.
Yes, exactly.
For you.
Yeah.
So we've spoken before about how you you're planning for your shoot. You have a shooting plan, and you have a small team that you're working with. How are you planning for your future sessions? How do you follow trends? How do you decide what to shoot?
I can tell you, first I want to tell you what not to do. I did this in the beginning, and that is actually to go in on the stock sites and see what all other people shot.
Yeah.
And when I was a beginner, this was like a natural way to do it because I thought if they have success, I'll also get success with it. But I found out that that's not the right strategy because what's already selling, if you make a copy of that, that's not going to sell. So what I do now is more like I keep my, always keep a close eye on the trends, what's happening in, like both in fashion style, like just read some fashion magazines, what's happening with people's clothing. If you do fitness images, what's the newest trend to wear. Like keep an eye on technology, what's happening. Are people wearing smartwatches? Are people using tablets? Then maybe you should shoot some pictures of people using that. And because everything is always changing, that also makes opportunities for new stock photos. Because if you see a stock photo that was taken 5 years ago,
it's very different.
Yeah, it's very different, and people are not wearing smartwatches. Or if you look 10 years ago, maybe they were not even sitting on laptops when they are shopping or whatnot. So I think it's good to keep an eye on the trend, what's happening, technology, what's happening in fashion. I mean, what's happening, and I mean, for example, when CrossFit really started to become popular, I did a CrossFit shoot just when it was beginning to trend, and I saw lots of success with those photos because
you were already there, so you already have the content.
Yeah.
And usually, customers are starting to look for those images either when the trend is just beginning or even a bit before, you know, when there's kind of rumors about it or something.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of magazines and stuff writing about all these new trends, whatever it's in technology or fitness or fashion. So if you have your images out there when the trend is coming, I think that's great.
That's the best thing that you can do, actually.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's smart. I need a workshop.
So we still have a bit of time, but maybe we can talk about some tips and tricks that you can give our viewers and also to Max. So we covered following trends, having a shooting plan, but maybe there's also something else that you can
Actually, something we talked about yesterday with the model releases. If you shoot like Max with travel and you don't know the people and they're not hired for your shoots, a great tip is to have there's actually apps that can do model releases, so you don't need to stand and like print paper and sign with a pen. So you can actually do everything on your smartphone. I think that's a great tool for people who are especially traveling or I also use it all the time because saves us a lot of time.
There's always an app for...
There's an app for everything.
There's probably going to be an Adobe version for that really soon, so get ready for that.
Other tips I would say, I would say shoot what you enjoy shooting. If you go into stock, don't try to mimic everything that's already there. I think you should be loyal to your own style and shoot what you enjoy, because if you have fun while you do it, it's not going to feel like work, and then I'm sure you will.
And at your presentation today and yesterday, you mentioned that quote from Mark Twain, I believe it was.
I think it's Confucius.
Okay.
If you do what you like, you never have to work another day in your life.
Exactly.
I think it goes like that. And that's very true, and I try to live by that. Just shoot what you feel like shooting. Sometimes I do shoots. Recently, I did a shoot of some swimmers just coming back from the Olympics in Rio. We shot a photo shoot in a pool where I shot underwater photos, and I don't know if it's gonna sell in stock, but I just feel like that could be a great challenge to try to shoot.
Yeah. And
Because
you're wearing a suit like with an underwater
yeah, and
camera.
the thing is,
everything.
I'm so bad with water. So I actually had my friend who's a really good swimmer to be my safety diver.
Okay.
So I was just trying this to I mean, it was just a challenge. So I got the underwater housing for my camera. I got a wetsuit. We got the swimmers, and it was just a lot of fun trying to like do something new.
Try it.
Yeah, and that is also what I like about being a stock photographer is no one is telling me what to shoot. If I have an idea, I can do it, and also I also like the idea of the market is giving you great feedback, because if people are downloading your photo, you know that you did something right.
Yeah.
And if
So
they are not downloading your photo, maybe you should change something.
change your style, change the way you work.
Yeah, it can just be small things. As we talked about, when you shoot stock, it's great that to look at how can a buyer use this image. So think more about having copy space in your image, so people can insert text, or I think it's a good thing is to look at your image and say, can someone use this for something? And if they cannot, what can I change to make it usable for a magazine or whatever?
When we talk to our contributors, actually, we always tell them, think about your potential buyer. Why should someone buy that image?
Yeah.
And when they buy it, how would they use that image? And that's a really good tip for you guys when you're planning your next shooting, to think about that.
Yeah.
Because it changes your whole workflow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also think a great stock photo is a photo where when you look at it, you know exactly what the concept is.
Yeah.
For example, let's say you just do a photo of it can be a woman standing on a white background and she's just smiling to the camera.
Yeah.
What would a buyer search to find that image? It's very vague. There's not a clear concept. Sorry, there's not a clear concept. Your images should always have a very clear concept, so you know exactly this image is about. It can be yoga. This image is about fitness.
Yeah.
So when you see the photo, it should within the first second you should be able to tell what is this about. And if your images are not clear like that, they're not gonna work well.
Gonna perform well. It needs to be clear, and the customer should be kind of attracted immediately to that image when this is the image that he wants to use.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And Max, could you maybe give our audience a few tips about your travel photography, landscape photography? How do you pack when you go on a trip, like a long trip, and how do you?
Just be prepared, be open, because everything is possible. Everything can happen. Just bring like a second phone cable, bring toilet paper, bring a few useful apps that really helps you during your travels. For example, some map apps that work offline, some nice editing apps like Lightroom Mobile, Photoshop Express that you can use on the run. Actually, you don't have to open your laptop, and because you're just disconnected, you cannot plug in your laptop. You just have to have your tool in your hand to work with that. Like specific tips, it's really.
Can I ask you something?
Sure, go on.
When you travel with your photo gear, do you ever have problems in airports, and like how do you overcome all that?
Yeah, I recently had a lot of trouble in Paris actually, because they wanted me to check in my hand luggage because it was 12.2 instead of 12 kilograms.
And there's no way you're gonna check that in.
There's no way in France. So I got off my t-shirt actually. I got my new t-shirt from the hand luggage. I started to wear my t-shirt and I gave them my old one. So it was exactly 12 kilos, and they had a new, not a new, but a nice sweaty t-shirt as a gift. I usually travel with hand luggage, and this is so difficult to convince the guys at the counter, hey, there's photo gear in it, there's batteries, you're not allowed to put them in your actual suitcase. Please, please, it's 16 kilos, I know, but look at me, you know. I try to compensate it.
For photographers, that's an issue when they travel.
No, but when I have a lot of gear, yeah, I try to have everything with me, because if something happens, when your suitcase get lost, what happened actually in Mongolia?
Yeah.
The guys, they lost all their lenses. The whole suitcase was still in Beijing while we were still in Mongolia, and they had to wait 3 days or 4 days until a random bus in the middle of nowhere just dropped this luggage somewhere, and we grabbed it.
So the
Just
lesson
keep
is
your basics with you, and this is
Yeah.
even a second T-shirt, some toothpaste and stuff.
Okay.
So the next thing I would like to discuss with you guys is the new Adobe Stock contributor portal. So that you've seen already. And I would like to talk about the keywording. Because I know, Jacob, that you are doing your own keywording, and you have a member on your staff that is doing the keywording. So there's a lot of effort that is going into keywording. There's a lot of thinking that is going behind the keywording. Because basically the keywords are the way that the buyers will find your images eventually.
Yeah.
And you've seen the new option that you have, that you can just drop your images and you get the keywords.
Yeah, and that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, so let's know what you think about that.
I'm pretty amazed on with how that works, and with the testing I saw, it's pretty amazing, and it's pretty accurate. So it's something we spend a lot of time on. I have more than 8,000 images in my portfolio, and just putting titles and caption and keywords on all those takes forever.
Yeah.
But it's just so important, and I'm pretty curious to play a bit more with this new auto keywording tool, because maybe it's something that we can incorporate into our workflow and maybe save some time. That would be great. So it's definitely something we're gonna play with, because it is super important.
Awesome.
This is a great tool for you, Max. You know?
I'm so bad in keywords and so bad in hashtags.
So now we can just throw them in there,
Yeah.
send them. And
I was already on Instagram, and my best friend had to tell me, like, half a year later, what is a hashtag? I was like putting something like my hometown, and but I find out that keywording hashtags is so important.
Yeah.
I still have to learn that.
Yeah.
You would be a great teacher, but sorry, Adobe's doing your job now. Yeah, I'm really curious how it works, because I'm gonna submit some more pictures in the near future. So let's see.
Let's see.
But I would say a good method, if you when you keyword, is to look at the image and say, like, what would I type in the search to find this image, and that's what your essential keyword should be.
Exactly.
And what I saw for now at the Adobe Contributor Portal, it got that totally right. So that's pretty impressive. Yeah.
And in order of importance, very important. The most important keyword should be on top.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we come to the end of this session, and I would like to thank you very much, Max Muench, Jacob Lund. Don't forget to join us tomorrow, the Adobe stage at Fotokinga. Thank you guys again. Thank you everybody here. Have a good evening.